My name is Miranda, born in England, educated in the Netherlands, and now living in the countryside of France. About 3 years ago, my world started to turn inside out and upside down. It still is in a way. The change in how I see the world started when I was bored out of my mind and had absolutely nothing to do. With the intent to challenge my brain, I picked up a book and read a specific collection of poems. Yet quite quickly I found myself falling down a very deep rabbit hole. To continue reading and understanding these poems, I had to make a radical decision. Either these poems were telling the truth, or they were just a literary expression of someone's imagination. After a long while, I chose the first, for reasons I will not go into now. Yet for months I struggled with the idea if I was either absolutely mad, or if there really is a God, and I was being confronted with his omnipotence through the words I was reading. These poems have brought me to a completely new perspective on the perception of time, self-identity, and really everything my eyes can and cannot see. And I started to really look around me as if I had new eyes. I was in awe of what my senses were telling me. I saw the sun passing over my head, and saw the moon in her different states. And I wondered about these lights, and I asked myself if I knew what they really were. It was the moon that really challenged my thought process, because I could not figure out why her light made the night so cold, and why her light was so blue. How could this be if she was reflecting the sun's light that was so warm and yellow? And I looked at the pictures of Earth taken by NASA. And I wondered about them too, because I was seeing the blue marble each time, but with the same continents being different sizes on every one of them. The more I looked into what the space agency was telling the world, the more I started to doubt the scientific story about the Earth. And at the same time, I was still stumbling about with my belief and faith in God. I've always considered myself as my own compass, even though my needle often points in another direction than what is commonly accepted. Yet I am human too, and I needed confirmation that I was not the only one that had questions about what was presented as reality. I did find confirmation that I was not alone in my silliness. And because God had also made an unusual entrance into my life, I was reading the Bible as well. It was in this book that I found reasons to question the insignificant spinning oblate spheroid in the vacuum of space. So many verses in the Bible pointed me to look at the earth as a level plane that is stationary and, until Judgment Day, immovable. So for a long time I walked around feeling like a complete lunatic, at least in my own mind. I couldn't find anyone else that thought the way I did. Since the beginning of 2015, I have followed the numerous developments in this flat earth movement with great interest. Even though I do not know where the circuit of the earth begins or ends, and I do not know the shape and substance of the firmament above me, God has brought me to watch this movement unfold. A movement that has made me finally lose my garment of lunacy and help me continue my endless questioning of the earth I live in and the people of it. A movement of bold minds breaking free from the bonds of worldly deceptions into the truth that, and I must conclude.
One other question that she asks, and a lot of people ask this question, and I think it's a good question, so we're going to also address it really quick. So she goes, I'm on board with many things. There are still questions I have, but I can definitely see why there are so many flat earthers. The question her husband gave her, however, is, if it's true, does it change how I live my life? For me, I have to say no. It would be nice if it's true for the government to acknowledge and stop charades. However, I find it really hard, especially knowing someone that works for NASA and his job is to get new packages ready, yada, yada, yada. So again, what difference does it make? Like I said, that's a great question. This is something that is not an easy answer because of the magnitude of what we're talking about here. How it will change your life, first of all, when you understand it, is dramatic, to say the least. Will it change you from having to go to your job every day and the things that you typically do every day? No. But when this knowledge becomes more mainstream and these agencies are starting to be held accountable, and you understand that they're all participating in this, not just the United States government, not just NASA, but China, Russia, India, all of them have space programs. They all have the same symbolism. They're all doing the exact same thing to their citizenry. And the first thing you have to understand about this is that the deception goes all the way to the top. And when I say all the way to the top, you have to kind of get rid of the notion that the people at the very highest levels are working together. The people that control the world are not, we're not against each other. There was never any such thing really as the Cold War. We're really not enemies with anybody else. This is all a facade that's being brought on for our benefit. But the people that are in power, that have all the money, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the on and on and on, these are the people that literally run the central banking system, which of course has permeated the entire world. And any country that tries to get away from it, their leaders are quickly assassinated. It goes on and on and on. So you have to understand conspiracies a little bit to understand the magnitude of this deception. So why would they do this? Why are they trying to hide the fact that we are on an infinite plane or on a flat earth rather than a ball? Well, the answer to that, there's a lot of answers to that, but in my personal opinion, if you isolate people into the idea that they're on a blue marble that's in the middle of a universe that is really insignificant, and there's thousands or millions and billions of other worlds and possibly other civilizations, that makes most people think that we are insignificant and that we did actually come about as some sort of an accident. Now, when people believe that, their minds are much more malleable into being given the idea that there is no God, there is no creator, that all of this is just some sort of random happenstance. And because of that, that also gives the controllers this fertile soil to build other deceptions on. And it's all about control. Remember, it's not about money. Money is irrelevant. They print the money. Money is just something that you and I agree has value, but it really is just pieces of paper, right? These people are printing the money. They can print money all day long if they want to, and they do. So it's not about that. And it's not just about power either. It's about total control, mental, physical, spiritual, every way, shape, and form possible.
One of the saddest lessons of history is this. If we've been lied to long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the lie. We're no longer interested in finding out the truth. The lie has now captured us. It's simply too painful to acknowledge, even to ourselves, that we have now been taken. Once you give a liar power over you, you almost never get it back.
You have to remember how big of a conspiracy this is. This isn't talking about just the JFK thing or isn't talking about just 9/11. It's on an umbrella kind of system to where it is the biggest deception that there is. It actually exposes every other deception, and nothing else brings down the power of the elite because it really exposes education, science, the economy, television, museums, universities. Think of all the things that have been fooled. I feel worse for the people that are out there building satellites, the people that are out there actually working for these space agencies, the people out there teaching in schools as professors, because they would all come to the conclusion eventually, once this gets out, that they've all been contributing to the lie. And that's got to be the worst feeling that there is. And that's why you have a hard time with a Neil deGrasse or a Bill Nye, these guys ever even considering that the earth might not be what they were taught, because they understand if it's not, then their entire lives have been about promoting the lie. They are tool pieces for the elite, for the lie system, and it really destroys everything. And I'm a perfect example, John, of what some things in it that didn't quite fit with my reality, and I was done with it. I realized it was many lies there. I popped out of that, and the one.
So ultimately, to get back to the question, how will it change your daily life? Well, until it's actually exposed, not a whole lot, because we're still slaves to this very same system. We still have to go to our jobs, we still have to pay the bills, yada, yada, yada. However, think about when this idea catches on and the awareness of the level of deception that we are kept under. And I think a lot of people are waking up to it. 9/11, being the fraud that it is, Sandy Hook being a fraud, on and on and on. But at some point, we're hoping that this is going to hit critical mass. And when it does, then all of a sudden, these institutions that are taking billions and trillions of dollars from us to simply enslave us, to keep us going to work every day and never having enough money or time, and other countries that are starving, have no medical attention. And in fact, there's active campaigns to kill these people off, and this is a well-known agenda. But all this aside, when this all goes away, then we're talking about an entirely different world. Then we're talking about the kind of world that would be, I dare say, more utopian. And that isn't always necessarily a good thing either, but let's just say that it would be a whole lot better than what we have now. If people understood that we are special, that there is a creator, and that really, when people come to this realization, we will start becoming more aware of the value of other humans and human life. And we don't look at people as, well, just because they're different from us, then they're wrong and they're funny and they're weird. We see each other as brothers, and we see each other as related in family, and we start respecting each other on a level that is due to everyone. And when that happens, and we get rid of the governments that are enslaving us and the people above the governments that are controlling them, then all of a sudden we start looking at a society where we can start improving upon ourselves. We can start making our own technologies that will benefit humanity, instead of the elite usurping all these technologies and using it for themselves against us. Like, we can have unlimited free power, and there's just so many things. I mean, you could go on and on and on and on about this, and many people have researched this. But at that point, everything changes. Absolutely everything changes, because we no longer are living in a slave world. We're living in a truly free world where everybody is sovereign and everybody has much more respect for other selves, other people. So that's pretty much the answer to that question. So it is a big thing. It really is. You can't just brush it off as saying, what difference does it make? It's not going to change anything. Au contraire, not only will it change things, it will change things in it'll bring us to an entirely new paradigm, an entirely new way of life.